You ready?
We need to talk. Have you ever prayed, cried, waited, and still felt like God was silent? Today we're talking about Esther. By the end of this video, you'll see why courage isn't always loud. Sometimes it waits. Sometimes it prays. Sometimes it steps forward while fear still has its grip on you. The wilderness isn't always a place. Sometimes it's a season, a stretch where you feel unseen, unheard, or unsure of what God is doing. And across these stories, Leah in the tent, Hannah in the temple, and now Esther in the palace, we see that grace doesn't skip the wilderness, it transforms it. Today, we're stepping into the palace. Picture this: Susa, marble pillars, gold-lined courtyards, servants moving quietly through the corridors, a place where everything gleams, yet nothing feels safe. Queen Vashti has just been removed from standing her ground, and a replacement queen has been chosen. And walking through those polished halls is a young woman, quiet, careful, heart racing. Out of thousands, Esther is chosen. She didn't chase the crown. The crown came to her. She is an orphan, raised in exile, a Jewish girl in a foreign empire, living under the pressure of staying invisible. She wasn't groomed for the throne. She wasn't trained for influence. Her wilderness was right there in the palace. It looked like privilege, but it felt like danger. Have you ever looked blessed on the outside, but inside you were fighting to breathe? That's Esther's story. Esther became queen not through ambition, but through obedience. She showed up quietly, faithfully. And this is how you know God positioned her. Because let's be real, how would she even know how to act in a royal court? No tutors, no etiquette coaches, no blueprint. She just had grace and survival. And the empire she lived in, if you approached the king without being invited, you could be killed on the spot. Even officials were terrified to do it. That was the law. That was her reality. Esther needed to approach the king. Given that he has just gotten rid of one queen, he had a pretty solid record. So when a decree was passed threatening to wipe out her people, Esther didn't start with strategy. She started with surrender. She turned to fasting before she turned to action. And honestly, this part convicts me every time. Because how many of us plan, calculate, network, speak around before we even think to pray? You hear of an opportunity, and the first thing that comes is let's strategize. God doesn't even get the first call. He gets the leftovers. He gets the, oh Lord, my plan A to Z has failed. What do you have now? I'm pretty guilty about this. Esther flips that. Before she strategizes, she surrendered. Before she acted, she fasted. That's courage. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady steps towards obedience. For such a time as this, Mordecai's words hit different when you read them slowly. In Esther chapter 4, verses 14, "For if you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will come for the Jews from another place. Yet, who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" I imagine her heart sinking. If I speak, I could die. If I stay silent, everyone I love might die. This was fear meeting purpose. Courage wrapped in trembling hands. If there's one thing I have learned from reading the Bible this year, is that God uses people who make themselves available, flaws and all. So what does she do with the fear and the request? She calls a fast. 3 days. No food, no water. I imagine on day 1, everything must have been quiet. On day 2, everyone must have felt weak. By day 3, she must have felt some resolve. And then she said the lines that still shake me. In Esther chapter 4, verses 16, I will go to the king, which is against the law, and if I perish, I perish. After surrendering to God, that is just moving with courage that doesn't wait for the fear to leave. Esther didn't reveal everything at once. She moved with God's timing, not her own. When she approached the king and the scepter lifted, that single gesture, that moment of grace saved her life. But even then, Esther didn't rush. She didn't panic or blurt out her request. She responded with wisdom and restraint, honoring the king, staying composed and inviting him and Haman to a banquet. She created the right moment instead of forcing it, understood timing, preparing the atmosphere, building trust, positioning her plea so it would land with favor, not just suspicion. Sometimes God clears the path before you even arrive. And here's the thing, Haman wasn't just an official. He was the king's most powerful advisor, a man driven by pride, anger, and vengeance. And he had already manipulated the king into signing a decree to destroy the Jews. And he himself had no idea that Esther herself was a Jew. One word, one hint of fear, and he could have twisted the whole situation against her. That's why Esther's composure mattered. She wasn't just speaking to a king, standing in front of the very man that plotted her people's destruction. Calm wasn't weakness, it was strategy, courage, and God-led restraint. And honestly, most of us would have done the complete opposite. Would have been like, oh, thank you, sweetie, for lifting up that scepter. Now, let me tell you what Haman is plotting. But so much of scripture teaches us timing and strategy mixed with surrender. We cry about the wilderness, desperate to get out, not realizing God is sometimes protecting us from battles we cannot see. He's not withholding deliverance, He's setting the stage. Sometimes God hides you, sometimes He slows you down, sometimes He keeps you silent, not to punish you, but to prepare you. If you're in the quiet season, don't despise it. Heaven might be writing your strategy. And because we've done this for the other women, let's look at Esther's Faith Watch readings. Let's see her faith in motion. Day 1, fast declared, spiritual reset. By day 2, silent preparation, faith under pressure. Day 3, approaching the king, divine timing. Unlike Leah and Hannah's story, Esther had much less time to react. A week perhaps. These stories are here to help us see where we are, what God might be teaching us, and how we might stay faithful while we wait. And I've created a free guide coming at the end of the series to help us outsmart the wilderness. Not outsmart God. No one can outsmart God. But the guide uses everyday tools to help us shift our mindset about the wilderness. But more on that later. For now, let's look at Esther's journal prompts that can help us meditate on ours. Where is fear keeping me quiet when faith is calling me to act? What, for such a time as this moment, might God be preparing me for? How can I prepare in prayer before I step forward? I'm Yvonne, and this is Wing It with Thought, where faith meets real life through scripture. This is a 3-part series of women in the wilderness. This was all about Esther, courage in hidden places. If you've missed the last 2 videos on Leah and Hannah, the links are below. My next video will be on Ruth, loyal love in lonely season. And if you've gotten this far and you haven't subscribed yet, I'd appreciate if you could hit the subscribe button, share this video with somebody else that might benefit from it, and press the like button. Until next time, stay blessed.